Our cover story tonight asks a startling question. Just what on earth are the Japanese doing on the blood-soaked battlefields of Ukraine? They are doing what adventurers and killers from around the world are doing, fighting for whichever side offers more money. You see, the Ukraine war has become a viper's nest of mercenaries, and this conflict started with a battle cry of national interests. But both sides have outsourced killing to bands of globe-trotting mercenaries. Their business has been booming. They are working for independent contractors. Of course, by now you know perhaps all there is to know about the Wagner Group. Tonight, we tell you about similar outfits engaged in bitter fighting in Ukraine and around the world. In fact, the Japanese group is fighting for the Ukraine flag against Russians. They have not taken their government's permission. They are freelance, being ferried and armed by contractors across borders. Last year, the Japanese were hired by the Georgian Legion, a military unit formed by mostly ethnic Georgians. They have been fighting against the Russians in Donbass. And reports say since last year, this legion has hired and is still hiring Japanese fighters. Some of them are civilians, some of them are former soldiers, and some belong to Yakuza, the Japanese mafia. On your screen is one such volunteer. His name is Yuya Motomura, a mahjong parlor manager in Japan. He says that he always wanted a way to prove himself to a society he felt looked down upon him. And so the 45-year-old planned to leave his home and join the battle in Ukraine. Listen to this.
I want to play the same role as the Ukrainians. I'm going there with the aim of defending the country. I personally take the value of defending the land or protecting a country very seriously, and I see Ukrainians doing it desperately. They have a different nationality from me, but the people, including the president, are fighting hard to protect their land. This is the real reason I'm going.
And like I said, Yuya Motomura is not alone. At least 70 other Japanese citizens have been identified, which suggests that their actual number must run into many hundreds. About 50 are former members of Japan's self-defense forces. What is this legion? It is essentially a foreign military unit of the Territorial Defense Forces of Ukraine. It was created on the 27th of February 2022, to be precise, to fight the Russian forces. In establishing this legion, Ukraine joined 90 other countries that have recruited legionnaires and raised foreign legions for decades now. You got that right. 90 other countries do the same. This legion comprises of several units that are made up of different nationalities. There is the Canadian, Ukrainian Brigade. It's made up of Canadian and British soldiers. There is Freedom of Russia Legion, which has former servicemen of the Russian armed forces. There is the Ukrainian Special Purpose Battalion, which consists of armed formations from Chechnya. And then there is the Russian Volunteer Corps, which consists of volunteers from Russia. There is a Pahonia Regiment of the Belarusian Volunteers, a Kraim Battalion of Crimean Tatars, and a Polish Volunteer Corps, which is made up of Poles. And these were just a few examples. Overall, this international legion has enlisted soldiers from 27 countries, like the US, Australia, Germany, the UK, Mexico, France, Austria, Greece, Japan, Croatia, Serbia. And what does this tell you? That the Wagner Group is not the only private army fighting in Ukraine. There are countless others as far as this war is concerned. The question is, why do so many private armies even exist? What is the reason? First of all, because mercenaries are expendable. You see, they get paid, they know the risks, they don't have families to weep for them who go to the media. They don't ask questions. They just take the orders. They don't answer to a state, but to their employer. They are motivated by profit. It is an easy transaction. Transparency, political consent, human rights. Private armies are not bound by any of these, and that is why they thrive. In fact, the United States played a crucial role in establishing this very trend. During its global war on terror, America hired several military contractors to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan as a king of auxiliary force to the regular army, and chief among them was Academy, also known as Blackwater. It is a private military company formed by a former US Navy SEAL. Blackwater made headlines for war crimes in Iraq, like the 2006 killing of 3 guards at the Iraqi media network, the 2007 massacre of 17 Iraqi civilians in Baghdad's Nisour Square, and the 2008 killings of 14 unarmed civilians, again in Baghdad. You see, Blackwater was America's dirty works department, a tool to keep its Marines unblemished. And then we have Sadat International, the first and only private military company in Turkey, an extension of sorts of the Turkish security apparatus. Sadat International helps Turkey further its agenda in areas where the formal army cannot go without controversy. It operates in Islamic countries across West Asia and Africa, providing muscle, training, weapons, and advice to its clients. And the question is, where does international law even stand on this? The Geneva Convention criminalizes mercenaries, yet international bodies have done nothing to disband the private armies. And why is that? You see, because the most powerful countries are playing this dangerous game. And the UN Security Council members are busy building private armies themselves. The Wagner Group, now told to concentrate on its dozens of operations in Africa, is one of many. We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.